Hello to my name is Elizabeth and welcome to Book Babble. So today I planned on recording my July wrap up, and I'm still going to do that, but I looked back on my last wrap up because I always see what was the last book that I wrapped up so that I could continue on from there, and I realized that I hadn't done a June wrap up. When June ended and July began, it was the middle of the Read-A-Rama that I host over with Chloe and Katie and Miranda, and I just totally forgot to do a wrap up for June because it was like that whole week and I just didn't do it. So I'm going to continue on where I did my wrap up for May and do my June and July wrap up. So let's just get started. The first book that I finished in June was A Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. This was the May book for the Once Upon a Read Along that I do over with Chloe at the Brunette Bibliophile. There's more information on that linked in the doobly-doo if you are interested. And we did a live show on it, of course, because it's our monthly book. So I will link that down below if you want to know what I thought of A Girl of Fire and Thorns. Then I read Mouse by Art Spiegelman, a hugely moving graphic novel. So good, I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. After Mouse, I read The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on with the rest of this series. The Percy Jackson series, I had never read it before this year, and it just wasn't as enjoyable as I hoped it would be. It was still enjoyable enough for me to read the series, but then going on to this one, it just was less enjoyable than the Percy Jackson series, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on. My interest just kept fading and fading all the way throughout the book. I think I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was still really well written, and I mean, Rick Riordan is a great author. I just don't think I'm interested enough in the plot line to continue on with the story. Someone in the comments tell me down below what happens to Percy, and do they ever find him? Because I just really don't want to read 5 books to find out. After The Lost Hero, I read Mouse 2 by Art Spiegelman, which is just the second book, the continuation of Mouse 1, and it tells the end of Art Spiegelman's father's story of how he went through the Holocaust and how he survived and what happened while he was in the concentration camps, and I cried at the end. It was just so moving, and the artwork is so vivid, and you feel like you're there. It's just, I don't want to say it's life-changing, but you definitely really realize how much different your life is now compared to what the Jews went through in World War II. It was a crazy book. I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. After Mouse 2, I read Boxers, which is by Jean Moon Yang, and this is about a boy who is in China during the Boxer Rebellion, another graphic novel if you haven't heard of it. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot more. I really thought it was going to be like a historical fiction type graphic novel, but it was really like a historical fantasy, which was interesting. It had some fantastical elements combined into it. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it was still a pleasurable experience, and it was really nice to read. I think I gave that one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. After Boxers, I picked up Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, 5 out of 5 stars. Not really much more I can say about it. The last 3 or 4 books I had read for a readathon, I think. I don't think it was the Read-A-Rama, but I'm not really sure. It might have been the Read-A-Rama. I don't remember exactly what readathon these books were for, but for that readathon as well, I also picked up The Tales of Beetle the Bard, which is by J.K. Rowling. Why did I even look? I don't know. But, you know, again, really, really cute. 5 out of 5 stars. It's Harry Potter. It's always going to be 5 out of 5 stars. Always. After The Tales of Beetle the Bard, I read The Giver by Lois Lowry, and I loved it. I need to do a full review on this book because it was just so fan-freaking-tastic, and if I sit here and talk, because I could talk about this book for an hour, I really, really could. It was so good, but that ending, I wanted to throw the book in a fire, but I didn't, of course, obviously. I would never do that, but I wanted to. Like, there's a difference between throwing your book across the room because of the ending and wanting to burn it to ashes because of the ending, and that's what I felt like with this book. And then I heard that the second book isn't even a continuation. It's like a companion novel, so it has nothing to do with this book, and I just need to know what really happened in the end. I just need to know. And even though I felt like throwing this book across the room because of the ending, it was so worth it. Like, this book, I would never take it back. Like, there's books I want to throw across the room because of the ending, and I just want to get those last, 8 hours back of my life that I just spent reading the book, and I just don't. I need to have this book's memory in my brain. I need it because it's just so amazing. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars was because that freaking ending, but the book is so worth it. If you have not read The Giver, read it. Read it. After The Giver, I picked up a nice, light, fluffy read, which is The Tollon Boyfriend by Casey West. This was our Once Upon a Read-Along book of the month for June, and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, again, because it was a Once Upon a Read-Along book. We did a whole live show about it, and I will link that down below. After The Tollon Boyfriend by Casey West, I picked up Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. Ernest Cline has definitely become an auto-buy author for me. I read Ready Player One because I knew Armada was coming out, and on the day that it came out, I went to Barnes & Noble and I picked myself up a copy because Ernest Cline, like I said, is an auto-buy author for me. His book was just amazing. I loved it so much. After reading Ready Player One, I picked up The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This I read for a readathon because it was a blue book, and I'm trying to remember the readathon that I was participating in this week, but I just can't remember it for the life of me. Maybe it was the biannual bibliothon? That sounds about right now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, I knew I was reading this for the readathon because it was a blue book, and it's like the bluest blue book I have, blue book I have on my shelf. So I picked it up, and I really like Julie Kagawa's Talon series, but the reason why I was skeptical about picking this up is because it's about fairies or fae, and I have not read a fairy or fae book that I like yet, not one, and this exact same thing. It was decent, better than other fairy fae books that I've read in the past, but I still just didn't like it. I don't know what it is about fairy fae books that I just don't like. I don't understand. I wish that I liked them, and I want to like them, but I haven't been able to find one yet that I like. After The Iron King, I picked up Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, 5 out of 5 stars. After Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Grey by E.L. James went on sale on Nook for $1.99, and I could not resist. So I picked that up on the Nook app, and I read 50 Shades of Grey, the whole trilogy, a couple years back, and I'm not going to talk about it in this because it's got a lot of, I think it's got a bad rap. I gave Grey a 3 out of 5 stars, just like I gave the first 3 books in the series. I gave them all 3 out of 5 stars. They're like a guilty pleasure of mine. Are there issues? Of course. There's problems with the characters. There's problems with the writing style. I have problems with the whole thing, but the content is something that I enjoy reading, and I'm going to leave it at that and move on. After Grey, I picked up The Madman's Daughter. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, and I wrote a review for this on my blog. I will link it down below, and I had some pretty epic thoughts about this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because it was written beautifully. The content is what I had a problem with, and if you would like some more information, again, my blog where I reviewed this is linked down below. After The Madman's Daughter, I picked up Tricks by Ellen Hopkins. Ellen Hopkins last year really became one of my new favorite authors. This was not my favorite book of hers, but I did enjoy the characters. It's basically about how 5 different teenagers or young adults come into prostitution, and it's crazy to think about, because they all have a different story. They all end up in prostitution at the end, but they all get there in a very different way, and it's an interesting thing to think about, and I enjoyed this. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but all of my other Ellen Hopkins, I've given them a 5 out of 5 stars, so I didn't like this one as much as her other books, but I still really did enjoy it. After Tricks, I picked up the selection stories, The Prince and the Guard by Kira Cass. So freaking adorable. I loved it a lot. Now, from the beginning of the selection, I was Prince Maxon team all the way. So, and then in the selection, it's a story from Prince Maxon's point of view, and it's a story from the other guy's point of view, and I don't know why I'm having such a brain fart right now, trying to remember his name. I can't believe I can't remember his name. But anyway, so the story from Prince Maxon's point of view is a lot shorter than the other story from the other guy's point of view, and I really would have liked it the other way around, I guess, but I still really enjoyed this story. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. After the selection stories, I picked up Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, and I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was going to be from the male's point of view, but surprisingly enough, which I loved, it was from the female's point of view, and this was a lot. I really thought this was going to be more explicit than it was, but it was actually pretty, it was a lot more classy than I thought it was going to be. I just thought it was going to be like, bam, sexy and sexy and sexy, but it wasn't. It's really good, and I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. After Sex Criminals, I picked up The Wicked and the Divine by Karen Gillian. This is about 10 or 12 gods or goddesses that every 90 years they reincarnate into a human's body, and after 2 years they're all dead. And I really thought that the premise of this was going to be a lot more enjoyable, but it wasn't really. I don't know what I was expecting from it, but I just was expecting something that I didn't get, and I think I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. The art is beautiful, but and the plot and the idea of the plot sounds really intriguing, but the execution of it just wasn't my style and wasn't really what I wanted. After The Wicked and Divine, I picked up Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This was a long time coming read for me. I have needed to read this book for frigging ever, and I finally did, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. I loved the chapter. The beginning of each chapter is just beautiful. It's got this really decorative she's got this really decorative thing over each of the chapter numbers, and just the story itself was absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to go on to the second book. After Shadow and Bone, I finished A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I think I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. It's just classics just aren't my thing. They're just not. I didn't really like it. Sorry, Virginia Woolf. After that, I finished Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. I bought this book this month, and I have no idea what I did with it. Like, none whatsoever. I don't know where it is. I didn't take it out of the house. I finished it in this room, but it's not on my bookshelf. I don't know what the heck I did with it. But anyway, this was a 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be having a review of this book coming up very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. And last but not least, after Between the Lines, I finished You Deserve a Drink by Mamrie Hart. My brother visited this week, and he bought this at Barnes & Noble, and quickly before he left, I decided to finish it so I could experience the amazingness that is Mamrie Hart and You Deserve a Drink, and it was absolutely fantastic. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. There were some parts of the book that I felt were a little bit trying too hard, or they were just, like, the stories were a bit stretched, if you know what I mean. Some parts of it just didn't seem like they were exactly truthful 100%, but they were still hilarious and really enjoyable, and I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, so that is my June and July TBR. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a Friday Reads, and then on Saturday I'm going to be doing my August TBR. So stay tuned for all of those videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!